Will the Dems ever win again, as long as they keep hating men? Our video of the day is a 2-for-1 man haters special. First up, Michelle trashes dudes while urging women to act more like them.
We're always hedging, because in the back of our minds, we weren't raised with the certainty of maleness that, kind of the confidence that young men in their 30s have, which they haven't earned. They just have it.
But it's something you work at, I feel not confident sometimes, and then I work on it and I can feel more confident, but nobody's really confident.
Yeah.
Everybody's insecure.
Everybody's a
at some
basket
point,
case.
Nobody wakes up and is like, unless you're like a true stone cold psychopath at any age, really.
Yeah.
And I think, what she's talking about is maybe there are the men out there, they're like, women, when you get older, you're gross, ew. But those are men who are not having sex with anyone.
Yes.
And I truly do not care about the opinions of those men, and I have a lot less money than she does.
Yeah.
So really, you kind of should just...
Greg Gutfeld storms in with sarcasm, sharper than Michelle Obama's designer heels. And Kat Timpf follows right behind, swinging like a witty wrecking ball. Together, they tear through Michelle's polished persona, turning her salad speeches and feel-good fluff into comedy gold. This isn't admiration, it's a full-blown roast. Greg lights the match, and even Michelle's carefully scripted legacy isn't fireproof.
Even if they run Michelle. According to a new poll, Michelle Obama isn't as strong a Democratic candidate against former President Donald Trump as many Dems would have you believe. In a hypothetical matchup, my favorite kind, Trump wins with 47% of the vote compared to Michelle Obama's 44%. I guess some of the kids whose school lunches she ruined are finally old enough to vote.
Point, Kat.
It also represents Democrats continuing to be out of touch with the same group of people that voted for Trump, which is why they lost. Some people are feeling like there's no hope because of Donald Trump going to be the president, but some people are feeling hope for the first time in a long time. A lot of the people in those flyover states who haven't had their concerns addressed by President Obama and the administration before that. So sure, some people are feeling hopeless, but to say all Americans, like you were saying, if this continues, Democrats are going to keep...
If you're enjoying this takedown, hit subscribe and ring the bell. Michelle Obama's PR machine has been running longer than most politicians' careers. It's practically collecting retirement checks. She glides into every cultural debate like America's spiritual aunt, here to hand you a gluten-free cookie and scold you about unconscious bias. Her brand, a perpetual side-eye aimed at the nation, like a parent catching their teen sneaking in late.
Michelle Obama surprised fans on our new podcast by saying her pet peeve about her husband is that he's chronically late. For example, we're still waiting on him to admit he's from Kenya. And as for Barack's pet peeve about Michelle, he's mad that she keeps leaving the toilet seat up. When she cleans it.
Greg Gutfeld dismantles the myth of Michelle's political neutrality like it's a prop on stage. Neutral, please. She moonwalks into progressive talking points like she's headlining a halftime show. Meanwhile, Kat Timpf, sipping sarcasm like cold brew, spins Michelle's inspiration into punchlines that sting. Her smile says bless your heart, but the burns land like precision strikes.
Have to use our voices to make these choices clear to the men that we love. Our lives are worth more than their anger and disappointment.
What's that pitter-patter sound I'm hearing in the background? It's the footsteps of Barack running to vote for Trump.
Michelle once claimed she was reluctant about politics, about as convincing as a cat pretending to hate attention. Next thing you know, she's headlining sold-out stadium tours that cost more than rent in the very neighborhoods she claims to champion. Her book tour felt less like literature and more like a rock concert of passive-aggressive life advice. Profound title, High School Graduation Speech Energy.
But Michelle Obama says the deportations keep her up at night. So maybe there is some truth to Barack's birth certificate. And way to tip off Trump. Oh, please, I'm really worried about these deportations. Just get a divorce already. Don't try to get him deported. There's a lot of conflation going on here. Deporting illegal immigrants isn't the same.
She talks about hardship like someone remembering a vacation where the hotel ran out of caviar. Michelle's version of adversity, wearing flats to an inauguration. Kat Timpf can barely hold her laughter. Michelle's stories sound like first world problems dipped in TED Talk syrup.
Julie! She says women are invisible. Which women are she talking about? Oh, I see her women in commercials, in TV shows. They're all over the place and they're all yelling at everybody, telling them, I'm a woman.
She's got some serious issues. She needs to go to therapy.
Yes.
And maybe stop doing radio just altogether, because we don't want to hear her speak. But she talks about, how young men were confident, which makes sense because she seemed like a pretty confident person growing up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you tell me. But I will say this, and I do believe she's actually biological female. She just plays the role of a man really well.
Greg doesn't hold back. He bulldozes through Michelle's fitness campaign, pointing out how it swapped real reform for Instagram-ready optics. Carrots and quinoa weren't going to save failing schools. Her speeches start with when. They go low and end with moral superiority so high it needs FAA clearance. And her political dance. 1 minute, she's wading into policy. The next, she's back to book clubs and kale chips.
Back of our minds, we weren't raised with the certainty of maleness that, kind of the confidence that young men in their 30s have, which they haven't earned. They just have it. We don't start feeling that and owning that until our 50s and 60s at a time when we start to be treated as invisible in society.
So true. And it reminds me of my new book, Women Are Invisible at Age 50, and I couldn't be happier.
Greg laughs at Michelle's claim of being apolitical, while she guest stars in every progressive docuseries Netflix can churn out. Her authenticity as scripted as a Broadway finale. Kat mocks the media's fawning every late night. Host melts into a fanboy the second she steps on stage. Michelle drops one lukewarm insight, and suddenly it's engraved in digital marble. Meanwhile, real heroes work night shifts for pennies.
Michelle thinks American men suck.
Let me warn you, your rage does not exist in a vacuum. If we don't get this election right, your wife, your daughter, your mother, we as women will become collateral damage to your rage. To the women listening, we have every right to demand that the men in our lives do better by.
And then there's the podcast. If you haven't listened, congratulations. You've avoided the audio version of a motivational desk calendar. Kat nails it. Each episode feels like being gently scolded by a guidance counselor pretending to be your best friend. Michelle calls herself one of us, while flying private jets to climate conferences and tweeting from an iPhone 14. Greg piles on, shredding her Hollywood clout. Netflix deals so bloated they deserve Senate hearings. At this rate, Michelle's next act might be Marvel's newest superhero.
Kamala has shown her allegiance to this nation, not by spewing anger and bitterness, but by living a life of service and always pushing the doors of opportunity open to others. She understands that most of us will never be afforded the grace of failing forward. We will never benefit from the affirmative action of generational wealth.
Generational wealth. Something good that now in the prism of liberal politics is very bad.
Pat cuts deeper, exposing Michelle's grace as a velvet hammer. Her polished delivery disguises condescension, sharp enough to slice. She beams, while implying half the country is failing as humans, and applause rains down. Her brand, a comforting nostalgia blanket for the progressive elite, spun into a liberal Disney fantasy. Meanwhile, her bravery headlines overshadow everyday people actually doing brave work.
Like a liberal groundhog, Obama's popping up to warn us about how Trump's turning into a dictator.
We start drifting into something that is not consistent with American democracy. It is consistent with autocracies. We're not there yet completely, but I think that we are dangerously close to normalizing behavior.
Michelle's fashion choices even hijack news cycles. She could wear a paper bag, and Nordstrom would label it historic. Kat mocks the overanalysis belts, treated like diplomatic statements. Greg loops back. Michelle wept virtue like it's a Peloton challenge, steering America's moral compass while swerving into every debate. Kat cuts deeper, mocking her self-help aura, like if Wheaties boxers came with hashtags.
Men can't name masculine Democrats. So, Congresswoman, according to a new study by a think tank, young men struggle to name any masculine Democrat leaders besides Barack Obama, saying it's the Republican Party that best represent men's interests. Are you surprised by this? Where did the Dems go wrong?
Michelle thrives because people confuse Polish with integrity. She's mastered saying nothing beautifully. Greg calls it a glittering fountain recycling the same water. Her trick, turning influence into innocence. School visits and snack tips mask a razor-sharp political operator who hides behind lifestyle branding. Greg and Kat peel back the glitter. Beneath it isn't a monster, but a performance honed to perfection.
Meanwhile, here's former First Lady Michelle Obama last night.
Kamala has shown her allegiance to this nation, not by spewing anger and bitterness, but by living a life of service and always pushing the doors of opportunity open to others. She understands that most of us will never be afforded the grace of failing.
And yet, the illusion holds. Michelle's legacy is less greatness, more branding genius wrapped in empathy theater. She's turned walking down a hallway into a feminist manifesto, latte in hand, captions loaded. But strip away the filters, the speeches, the PR sparkle. What's left isn't historic, it's a brand. And brands fade. The applause will stop, the pedestal will crack, and what remains will be the magician without the trick.